Well, let's discuss exports, one of the most vital aspects of motorsport trade. You know, people in the motorsport industry in the UK are born global. Although there are plenty of companies that supply just the national market of the UK, which is one of the largest in Europe, running 4,000 or more events a year, there's no question that the world is your oyster if you go into motorsport, and global trade is critical to us. So let's just talk about that. As far as the global markets for motorsport are concerned, the two real large markets are America and Europe. And I'll just have a look at both of those. Let's first of all now look at the European market and say the largest countries in Europe in terms of motorsport are still Germany, followed by the UK, then France and Italy. Those are the four majors. And if you're going after exporting to Europe, you should chase that marketplace in that order. As far as the UK is concerned, of course, that's your domestic market, but from here we rebound off into global markets. Germany has the strength of the automotive industry in Germany behind it. So it has the great brands of Mercedes and BMW and all the other supercars that they manufacture in Germany. And very often motorsport is a division of those activities. So you are drawn into dealing with either those major automotive brands or the tier one companies just below them. Major companies such as Bosch obviously are primary suppliers to those German companies and their motorsport teams. Very strong domestic series and very strong internationally, as you can tell from Le Mans or watching Porsche racing anywhere in the world. They are definitely one of the most impactful markets and still buoyant in Europe. France and Italy have had a tough time over the last few years, particularly since the crash of 2008. Both of them have their own domestic automotive manufacturers, and those are the people that are backing their racing efforts. You can think of Fiat in Italy and all their various brands that are attached to those. Certainly VW, who now own Lamborghini, they help develop those brands in Italy. And in France, we have Peugeot, Citroën and Renault, without whom there would be very little racing in France. So in almost all those European markets, you're going to be drawn into dealing with the primary automotive brands. And to some degree, that's a slightly more restricted operation than just going out to race teams and selling to them. But each one of those markets, very powerful, very strong. Germany has held really strong sales over this period. France and Italy are coming back primarily in sports cars and GTs, but we should now have a look at the wider market in the USA. USA did not, in any way in terms of motorsport, really have trouble after 2008. Most of the brands cut back their hospitality, their marketing and advertising, but they continued to tell their customers that their cars, their Corvettes or their Mustangs were worth watching on a racetrack and then buying. So there's a very buoyant market in America. At one time it was valued at $16 to $18 billion a year. A large part of that is in the Corvette Mustang type supercar market, but below that there are over 2,000 race circuits in the US alone, and it's the diversity across such a large country. One currency, one language, and a great deal of popularity for all kinds of motorsport. And over the recent years, we've seen a boom in off-road, desert racing. We've seen the Global Rally Challenge taking off, which is stadium rallying. And in addition to that, we've got the long-running battle to get single-seater Indy cars back onto the map. But whilst that's been going on, NASCAR has grown from strength to strength. And the most exciting part of America will be in sports cars and GTs, where the United Sports Car Series has really set to take off. It's just announced its new DP cars, LMP2 cars that will race at Le Mans as well as in America. For the first time, an American investor and a European investor can buy a car and race either in Europe in the major events or in America with the same car. And it will apply the same for GT3. So America is definitely the most accessible and most buoyant of all the global markets.